Well, it's mid-July. Let's see how the garden's doing. My favorite place to sit in the world is this herb garden, herb and some vegetables. Some things have tapped out, some are coming in. A little bit plagued by lack of sun here, but I do what I can. Let's check out what's going on. I have 2 tubs of strawberries, one here and the other one inside of all the plants there. I think these are June bearing because they have already given fruit. I'm going to be moving the strawberries to one of those big refrigerator planters once I get dirt for them. I really want to have a focus on perennials and things that come back like that, so I can start with these. My little blueberry bush is doing its best to come back. It looked so great when I first bought it and it got scorched, and I'm just feeding it and watering it, and it's hanging in there. Here's a variety of herbs and nice scents. I have some Spanish lavender. Here's some feverfew at the bottom. Rosemary, some of my irises from earlier in the year. This tall one is a thornless blackberry. I have 2 of them. And some pink flowers and some chrysanthemums. Just kind of a assortment of whatever has turned up on my doorstep. I'm trying these ground cherries for the first time. I'm not sure what's going to happen with them here, but so far they're galloping along. I gave some plants to my friend Paul, who's going to grow them at the ranch he lives on, and we'll see what happens. I love green zucchini, and I've got some growing here. Suddenly took off this plant. See what's happening here. I got some flowers. I don't know what these are. I think they're potatoes. As long as they're not bothering the green zucchini, I'm going to leave them. But as soon as they bother the zucchini, I'll have to pull them out, I guess. I have 2 beautiful tubs full of this asparagus. I got the crowns at Walmart a couple years ago. I think next year is going to be my time to harvest them. I've even got new little spears coming up. It's fun to watch. Artichoke is hanging in there. Something volunteered there. I might have to pull it out, replant it someplace else. I always like to see what's going to volunteer, but once it starts interfering with the other plants, no good. I did a chamomile harvest. I have 2 big bins full of chamomile. This one is still kind of struggling. The other one here, as you can see by all that green, is starting to spread out, fill in, and replicate itself, which is what I wanted. I have a hard time getting my rhubarb to get real tall. Maybe I'm not fertilizing it enough. At least it comes back, has more leaves. I've had this issue for a couple of years. I do get a little concerned in the winter because it totally goes away, but as long as it comes back, I'm good. If anyone has any thoughts on how I can get this rhubarb to be bigger and thicker, that would be terrific. Lemon balm is not quite as beautiful and as bushy as it was. It has gone to seed a little bit here on the top, but on the bottom it's filling out. I've been cutting it off as much as I can. I've dried some and used some in my iced teas, and I'm going to use as much that is usable as possible. I haven't tried it yet in a tea in its dried form, but I'm going to have to do that. Supposedly it's very medicinal. This is a yellow crookneck squash. Again, the lack of sunlight hours here has kind of stunted it, but whatever I can get out of it, I'll get out of it. It's doing well, it seems happy, and I guess that all this matters. As you can see, Paul brought me 2 more shopping carts. I have plans for that, and another refrigerator. Actually, he brought me 2 more refrigerators. He brought me this earlier and another one later. I'm going to move this one because it's not very sunny here, but in the meanwhile, here it is, and it can stay. Neither of the new refrigerators have any soil yet, but we'll get some. Horseradish is going crazy. It is a perennial, so it'll come back year after year. I can break off some of the roots. I am Jewish, and for our holidays, we eat horseradish with our fish, sometimes our meat. So it would be nice to have fresh horseradish. The tomatoes here are doing great. This tomato is something called a Robeson, and I got it from Baker Creek. And I said, listen, I have a short season, not a lot of daylight hours or sun hours. What do you recommend? and they said this, and I've grown it a couple years in a row. It's been wonderful. The tomatoes are medium size and kind of red and purple. Over here is Big Boy, and I think this has to get a little bigger before it starts producing. I don't see any tomatoes on it yet. I do see flowers. I had some extra little seedlings, so I threw them in here. This one is butternut, and this one up here is something called tromboncini. It's like an Italian squash, but really, really long. I have another one which is huge. I'll show it to you, but whatever happens, happens. You can plant squash out here through June. So I threw them in here, and we'll just wait for them to catch up. I am thrilled with my from seed eggplant. I see I have a little flower here and some things starting to grow, so I would love to get some eggplant out of this. I'm impressed with myself. Some lantana for the flowers. This is a yellow pear tomato. I had an extra. Some lavender over there. And here's my first fruit of the season. Nice yellow squash right there. I'm going to pick it in a minute. These are acorn squash. I actually started these from seed, and they just took forever. But now they're coming up. They're actually still kind of slow considering how long they've been in the ground, but they're making steady progress. Here's another yellow squash. I do like those yellow squash too. Also, it gets some shade here, so it's not galloping ahead as fast, but whatever I can get, I can get. Right next to it, the thornless blackberry, which this one, because it gets more sun, has more fruit. The fruit is delicious. So I'm going to be moving this one and the other one to another part of the garden in a few weeks. You can see what I mean about the daylight hours and how much more daylight hours those two refrigerators on the end have from anything else. You can see the difference here where it's the sunniest. These things are going wild. They have a little extra time in the sun. I have another one of those tromboncini squash. Look at the difference between this and the other one. Of course, this was planted earlier, but still, it is galloping ahead. This other one is something called table gold. It's also going nuts. So I actually planted them in this part of the refrigerator because I thought the two tomatoes were going to die. They just got bitten up. So I sprayed them and fertilized them, and thought I'd plant the squash just in case they didn't come back. But this one's coming back great. It's a Cherokee. You can see where it was bit off right there. The whole thing was like about maybe that high, just bit off. And this one was just as bad. I believe this is a, let me check. This one is a yellow pear, and this one is another Robeson. Here's my second empty fridge. That will be filled soon. I'm just going to have to watch the sun here and figure out the best places to put these. I'd wanted them to all be back together back over there, but I'm seeing the difference between what happens with that extra hour or two of daylight and what happens when you don't. So I'm going to have to be strategic. I've talked about this marshy area to the side of my house where there's springs 12 months a year and it's always kind of damp. So let me show you what I'm planning to do here. Here we go. You can see it's just so green, and it does get a fair amount of sunlight. I've put a few of my extra seedlings in here because it's wet. Let's see if I can find them. Use a little bit of that plastic fencing is bright orange to mark the area. And so far they seem to be doing pretty good. Let's find them. You can see how wet the ground is. So this is the area I'm going to be putting my trees in because it's wet without being a marsh, and it's off the road and they get sun most of the day because it's pretty open here. The sun comes from over here, and I think it'll be fine. I've checked it at all hours. So here's a pumpkin hanging out there. I put it in some wet ground, and I think this is another pumpkin here. And I have 2 more squash floating around here, and we'll see how they do. If they work out, this is a good place to put extra seedlings. And they'll be joined by the trees at some point. Here are the trees and the vines I have in mind. This is something called a strawberry tree, which evidently has fruit on it. Somebody gave it to me. I never heard of it, but I'll check it out. And as you might be able to tell by the leaves, this is a fig sapling here. And I have this half-off Home Depot grapevine that I got a few months ago, and it's happy too, so I'm looking forward to putting it in its new space. Here's a pomegranate tree I picked up a few months ago and transplanted also, and it's just growing and growing. I'm going to put it out there as well. I have several of these lantanas and other flowers, and I was thinking of trying them out there too, so there's some flowers. I know there's a lot of wildflowers, but I thought I'd give it a try. My secret weapon out there, or not so secret weapon, is going to be all this plastic fencing I got at a couple of thrift stores and the Dump and Habitat for Humanity, and I can wrap them around the trees and around the vines, so at least I know where they are. It's all kind of green and overgrown there, and if somebody comes in to clean up, I don't want things to be accidentally chopped down. So I got these at the ready once everything is in the ground. I did see a deer here a few weeks ago, but I haven't seen it back, and I see deer very rarely. But if I do see it again, or if it looks like there's problems out there, I'm going to put some of this up around my tomatoes, etc. For the first time in months, the seedlings are gone. There's no seedlings left. Either planted them or gave them all away, and they'll be feeding people all over the place. Well, that's where I'm at right now. I'm feeling happy and heartened by how things are going. Last year at this point we had 120-degree weather for weeks on end, 100 to 120-degree weather. Nothing was growing, nothing was living. It was frightening and dystopian and very discouraging. This year it's been quite moderate. I realize we still have some months ahead of us, but I think we're going to be okay. Looking forward to some good harvest, good cooking and good eating. Thank you so much for watching.